All right, so welcome everybody and welcome to the Women Who Inspires webinar series. I'm Hanan Al Sammak and I'm a part of the MENA speakers team. Now, I want to say that this is basically an initiative by leading speakers and MCs bureau in the region. And part of MENA speakers' role is basically to expand or increase the presence of female matter experts in events around the world. Now, we particularly chose this month to hold these webinar series because it is closer to the 28th of August, which is known as Emirati Women's Day. Now, that is why we gathered several expert speakers who are female to host and to provide us with their powerful topics and intriguing ones as well. Now, today we have a very special guest, and she goes by the name of Hanan Al Sammak, and she is going to be talking about Be the Change. Now, before I can let her begin, I'd like to mention that there will be a Q&A at the very end, and where you can drop basically your questions in the little Q&A tab at the bottom. And there also is a chat box, so you can engage with our speaker throughout the entire session. And you can ask her questions at the very end, but you can engage with her through the chat box. Now, without further ado, please help me welcome Hanan. Welcome, Hanan.
Hi, Nihal. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for this introduction. I hope this is clear. I hope everyone is here. Thank you so much for joining us today. You know what I love, Nihal, is you reminded me of something that happened in grade 6 when I was in Mawaqib school, and they used to call me Hanan Fish because they used to always miss out the double M, so they used to put one M, which is Hanan Al Sammak, and Sammak in Arabic means fish. So yes, I kept, I was being proud because my grandfather was actually a fisherman, so it's actually a Sammak. But Sammak, fisherman, potato, it's all the same. So, but thank you for that introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As you all know, the great Gandhi once said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." Be the change you want to see in the world. And I remember I used to love posting this quote everywhere since 2014, ever since I started my personal development journey. I shared a couple of times in my talks and trainings for the past 6 years. I never quite understood the meaning behind this quote and how powerful it is until this year, 2020. And I guess this year has been the highlight for many people across the globe. We have witnessed a lot of different kinds of events, from health to politics to social, and we have been on an emotional roller coaster ever since. Add to that some personal issues I have been through this year, and that sort of amplified all the emotions I felt. I mean, my business, my training and consultancy business have been, kind of slowed down in the earlier stages of the pandemic. I closed my office, I couldn't pay the rent for a while, an office I had furnished it from scratch. It was on my vision board since 2016, ever since I left my corporate job and started from scratch. And I decided to take writing and coaching and speaking as a full-time career. And so what happened this year was, this is actually the first time I'm going to share this story, but I believe that this, inshallah, hopefully it will inspire people in their healing journey and in healing their wounds. I've never shared this before, but I believe it is important. It was a message that I should. And yeah, bear with me and, hear the story with your heart. And if you can, pull up a piece of paper and a pencil, because I'm going to share some points that will help you, inshallah, in your healing journey as well. And so this year, during the great pandemic, my parents actually got divorced after 35 years of marriage. 35 years of marriage. I mean, family was on the top list of my values. Family, connection, loyalty. And that was shattered right in front of my eyes. And what is happening with the world, I told myself. I was supposed to be Married also to the one person I thought was the one, but it turned out it was the wrong person and wasn't even approved by my family. So add more heartbreaks, please. What happened in Lebanon broke me into pieces as well. Half of my family are there from my mom's side. They are safe, but I just couldn't take this anymore. Bear in mind that all of this was happening alongside Corona that simply took away all our freedom, as most people felt. So in the beginning of my different kinds of personal incidents that all happened in 1 month, I was actually trying to fight my emotions. I was exercising to release my negative emotions. I was still working on my coaching programs, even though business slowed down, but I thought, hey, at least that will get my mind off things. I got a new haircut. Add to that some new dresses. I thought, that will change my mood. I used positive affirmations to help myself stand up again. I listened to motivational videos. Some of them were even my own, to different audiences and different speeches and talks. I felt guilty for feeling heartbroken. Get up, Hanan, what is wrong with you? You're a life coach. I kept telling myself, use what you taught to people. And that was it. That was when I hit, actually, rock bottom. I couldn't pretend anymore. I got sick emotionally, physically. I literally felt pain in all parts of my body. I couldn't breathe at night. I stopped eating. I lost sense in who I was. And quite frankly, I hated life. I didn't like waking up in the morning. I locked myself in my room for 2 weeks. I didn't even like looking at myself in the mirror. I dimmed my own lights, and everything used to make me angry. And there it is. I was actually severely depressed. This is when it actually hit me. And I told myself, surrender to the pain, Hanan. Just surrender to the pain. Stop fighting it. Just stop. Surrender. You are heartbroken. It's okay. It's going to be okay. You are hurt. It's going to be okay. You are depressed. It's going to be okay. Just surrender, Hanan. And this is it. This is when I actually surrendered to my pain. This is when I actually surrendered to my darkness. You can't be rescued. You can't be rescued and see light again unless you face your negative thoughts, unless you face your painful emotions, unless you face your illusions, unless you face your inner critic and actually be able to win. This is the moment when I finally got up my bed. I washed my face with cold water and I decided to live my emotions for once. But bear in mind that I cried every time I remembered my parents being together and now they're divorced. I cried every time I saw a couple getting married. I did. I stopped arguing with people who wronged me. I realized it wasn't them anymore. It was me being triggered. And so I became the observer. I laughed lightly when my younger sister, Dana, did something funny. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't pretend like everything was okay. I had to before, as I was constantly being judged for having feelings like sadness, emptiness, because I am a life coach and I should know better, right? And so I laughed lightly. I allowed myself to cry while exercising on the treadmill, pulled myself up, and I finally asked for help. I spoke to a therapist, I spoke to a healer, I worked through my pain, and I decided intentionally to stop playing the victim. And why all of this was happening to me? Poor me, poor Hanan. Why is this happening to me? Why me? So I decided to intentionally work on healing my inner child. The nurturance we ached for, the love we yearned for, the gentleness we never asked for, step by step. And so this is how you actually heal a broken heart, based on, or even your wounds or whatever you're facing, based on scientific research done by psychiatrists and therapists from numerous scientific evidence. and studies. So you can have your piece of paper next to you with a pen and write down these 6 points, because I promise you, if you work on these 6 points, it will help you at least find the base for you to stand up again and, start at least healing some of your wounds. So the first point is to make an intention to heal. So make an intention that you actually want to heal. So you have to do the necessary work for you to heal. Whatever it takes, commit to it. No matter how uncomfortable that is. If you had to go through your childhood, if you had to revisit your unmet needs and see what you need to do now in order to help yourself grow, then do that. And it won't be pleasant, by the way. It's not a fun journey, but it's the only way you will save yourself. So this is the first point, is to make an intention to actually heal. The second point is go inwards to your anger. And so face your anger, but also go inwards and ask, if there was no anger, what other feelings would there be? If there was no anger, if you weren't angry all the time, if you weren't, frustrated and you want to break things and, you want to break your cups and you want to hit the wall and you want to just punch something. If there wasn't that emotion with you, what other emotions would there be? And most likely you will come across a deep feeling of shame and sadness and unworthiness, that you are actually not enough. How can I do this? I should have known better. I was wrong. I was guilty. I'm not worth it. And so usually underlying anger is the feeling of shame and unworthiness. The third point is to stay with the painful feelings. So never ignore them. Never pretend to be okay and be positive and go out with your friends, order takeout, watch Netflix as if everything was okay. Stay with your feelings. You are in pain, and that's okay. Stay with your feelings. Never hide them or cover them by temporary pleasures, because those feelings need to come up. So it can finally leave space for other positive emotions to fill the space, but they need to come up. Otherwise, they will accumulate. And this is the time when you will lose it and maybe lose yourself in the process. And if it's too much for you, do it with a therapist, do it with an expert. You don't need to suffer alone. People are there for you. Even if that is actually hard to believe, especially after what you've been through. If you have been through a breakup, or if you have been through, health problems or divorce or separation or financial issues, or with someone betrayed you, that is very hard to actually start trusting people again and trusting the world again. But believe it or not, people are there for you, and there are always good people out there. And so leave that space for hope, always. Because, if we lose hope, what is left? What is left? And so when you sit with your emotions, this is the fourth point. You can always sit with your emotions and with your sadness. And by that, I mean, ask yourself, how does it feel inside your body? So where is it painful? Where is it? Is it in your throat? Is it in your, stomach? Is it in your hands? Is it in your head? Where do you feel that kind of pain? It is very important that we start naming our emotions. We start naming the areas where we feel the most physical pain. So we can actually sit with it and have a conversation with it. Understand it. I am feeling angry. So I feel pain in my throat because I have some things that I want to say and I couldn't say it. And so I feel suffocated. Okay, and what is the color of that pain? I don't know, I see it as red color. Okay, so the more you understand your pain, the more you understand the root causes of your problems, this is when you'll actually be okay and with everything that is going on. You no longer are in the vague area. Oh my God, what is happening to me? You know what is happening. You feel angry, and this is the color of the emotion, and this is the reason of it. So you start working with that pain. This is the fourth point. So sit with your emotions. The fifth point is, and most importantly, that you need to show compassion to yourself. You need to show compassion to your sad parts. Don't be hard on yourself. And I know that is very difficult for us to comprehend right now, especially if we're going through a negative situation, because most probably we will blame ourselves that we were not enough, that only if we did something in a better way, only if we talked in a better way, if we knew the tools, if we knew the techniques necessary for us to communicate better, and therefore we will not lose that person, we will not lose that business, we will not lose those parents. But don't be hard on yourself. People make mistakes. People make mistakes. So it's very important to show self-compassion right now, especially in this moment, because the emotions are already too much for you. So add to that some guilt, and add to that some blaming, add to that some unworthiness. That will only slow down your healing process. So it's very important for you to accept that you actually make mistakes. The last point and the sixth point is to take responsibility for whatever happened. So I don't mean, blaming yourself and putting yourself down. No, I mean, take responsibility for what happened. So I made a mistake, yes, but I'm not gonna feel bad about it. Not that I don't care, but because I made a mistake and I know that I did, and it's time for me to amend some things and change and do something necessary for me to not repeat that mistake in future relationships. This is how we take responsibility. That whatever happened, for example, in that breakup, was partially my fault because I couldn't work with I didn't heal myself enough. I had unmet needs. Therefore, I attracted someone with that kind of qualities who mistreated me, for example. Some things happened, and I'm not going to say everything that happens in the world is your fault, but if you can see the world as projection to yourself, to your thoughts, to your ideas, this is how you'll actually realize that whatever is happening, you have part of it. You are actually part of it. So taking responsibility for whatever happened will actually set you free, because when you take responsibility, you're taking your power away. You're no longer blaming your parents or blaming your ex or blaming somebody else because, they hurt me and they wronged me, even if that's true. But at the same time, I'm taking responsibility for my actions in that relationship because I want my power back. So I will stop blaming, I will stop playing the victim, and now I can move on, because how can I move on without power? How can I move on if, I'm always blaming my external factors for whatever thing that happened to me in life, whatever misery I'm facing, it's them and it's my friends and it's the society, and that's why I'm sad. That kind of thinking will always trap us, and it will not let us move forward. And if you're feeling pain, if you're stuck in life, it's because you can't move forward. So part of moving forward is actually to take responsibility for whatever happened in your life. And honestly, only when I did that, only when I worked through these 6 points straight, for 5 months straight, every single day, committed. It wasn't pleasant. It was very disturbing, actually, because you're working with your unmet needs, you're working on your healing your inner child, and you get shocked. You get shocked, honestly, because, oh my God, I did not know that these things were actually in me. I didn't know that I suffered because when I was 6 years old, I did not get 1, 2, 3, for example. And so it is very shocking in the beginning, but it's also enlightening. You do feel the change after working on healing your inner child, because now you're aware, and awareness is the first step to change. When you're actually aware that these things are happening for a reason. These things are happening not because people want to betray you, because you are just something to be betrayed for example. No, things are happening for a reason. So when you find out that reason, you will feel, yes, you will feel pain, you will feel hurt, but also it's kind of liberating that, oh my God, that's why I was heartbroken. Okay, so let me work on these things. And so I worked on these 6 points for 5 months straight. Commitment and focus. This is the only time was when I saw light again. I took it slowly. I worked on my values first. I asked myself, so what is your values? So this is The same question I'm going to ask you, whoever is watching, kind people. What is your values? What do you believe in the most? What is important to you in your life? Because from values, goals can be derived. And when you have goals and when you have something to focus on, this is when you will actually feel excited and motivated again, especially after, going through crisis, emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever. When you have something to hold on to, which is your goals, this is when you actually feel motivated that, okay, there is something I'm working towards. صح إن I lost everything, almost everything, but I still have my mind. I still have my goals. I still have my personal journey that I need to honor, that I need to take, care of. I still have myself. And so ask yourself, what is your values? What do you believe in the most? From values, goals can be derived. And when you have your goals set, this is when you get clarity. This is when you get clarity. And so this is when you finally become hopeful, because you're working towards something. And when you're suffering, you lose hope. But when you have something to work towards, this is when you will feel hopeful again. And hope is such a strong positive emotion. And we need that, especially during times of despair and misery and sadness. And so ask yourself, what is my values? What do I believe in? What is meaningful to me? Not my family, not my friends, not my ex-husband or ex-wife, not society. What is meaningful to me? What is meaningful to you? What do you believe in the most? What is meaningful to you? And then you have to start doing the necessary work for you to grow. So after knowing your values, second comes self-compassion. Self-compassion is very, very important because you need to forgive yourself for whatever happened. Yes, you took responsibility for your action, but you need to also forgive yourself because back then in that situation and in that experience, you thought that this was the right thing to do. You did not expect that this kind of breakup will happen, or this kind of divorce will happen, or this kind of financial crisis will happen. You did not expect that. So right in that moment, in the past, it was the right thing for you to do. It was the right thing for you to do. So it does not make sense to blame yourself for whatever happened because you did not even know that that kind of thing would be possible for the future. And so forgiving yourself is very important for your healing journey, for you to grow, for you to continue moving forward. Forgive yourself for putting your heart somewhere it doesn't belong, for failing at projects. Forgive yourself for all the disappointments you have been through, the guilt and the shame. These are all negative emotions. These are all negative emotions that only play as a barrier to your life's journey. They are only blocks to your success. You need to cross over. You need to cross. Let's say you're here. You need to cross over. But crossing over won't be by actually hitting your negative emotions or hitting your experiences or not facing them or trying to break them. It will be by actually understanding them. Okay, so what color they are? Why did they happen? What is the reason? What is happening there? So the more you're aware of those kind of situations, the more you're aware of whatever happened to you in the past and whatever reason, whatever root, what is the root cause behind those problems, this is when you'll actually be friends with your experiences, even if they were painful. You will be friends with your negative emotions. You will understand them. You will know them. And this is when it will actually slowly dissolve and move. And this is when you can cross over safely to the next level. Not by breaking them and not by hiding your emotions and not by trying to hide here and there and jump and try to break. It's understanding your negative emotions and why it happened so you can cross over safely to the other side. And so only when you become the change will you be able to influence your family members, when you become the change. Not when the people who bothered you change or stop their behavior. And I know that this is annoying, especially if you're living with someone who is negative, who are constantly hurting you and not giving you the best treatment that you deserve. Yes, it is painful. It is. But only when you become the change, knowing how to act with them, how to react, how to protect your energy, how to behave, how to communicate effectively in a non-violent way, this is when you'll actually, work on yourself better. And this is when you'll actually become the change. When you become the change, you will influence others. When you influence your family members, they will become their own change agents because they have their own journey happening there. When you become the light, when you change, and when you are healed, when you become the light, you will radiate. You will radiate. And that will affect people positively. You will finally stop playing the blame game. You will stop finally, forcing change, or you need to change, you need to do this, or it's your fault. You will stop finally giving hard advice and always advising the people around you. You will be light. And light only guides. Light only guides gracefully. And that's when that's what you become when you heal. When you actually heal, when you work on your healing journey, you become light. Light. So finally, at the end of our lecture, I do suggest that you take out that piece of paper that you had with you, or the notebook, with your pencil or pen, and I do suggest that you write a goodbye letter to the people who wronged you, the people who betrayed you, the people who disappointed you, and even to your broken self. Because most probably, sometimes we do lose ourselves in the process of whatever relationship we were in or whatever career we were in. Sometimes we tend to forget ourselves and lose ourselves during the process, especially if it was negative and if it wasn't what we expected. So write that goodbye letter. I will tell you how to write it, and you can write it at the same time that I'm speaking and add to it and fill in the blanks for whatever it is that I'm going to say right now. This letter is actually based on scientific research. It said that it is very, very important and it's very beneficial for actually healing your wounds and for moving forward. It starts as a base, and if you do it intentionally, if you put your heart into it, if you put your emotions into it, and you do it intentionally right now, it will be the beginning of your healing journey, inshallah. And so I want you to write that goodbye letter with compassion and forgiveness and simply let it go. Because bear in mind that any loss of a job, any loss of a relationship, any loss of yourself, or even the death of a loved one, it needs to be honored and it needs to be grieved. Honor your experiences. And you are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to feel sad. You are allowed to feel depressed. So I want you to write that letter. The letter goes like this. I'm going to read it to you. Dear self, dear Hanan, dear Sarah, dear Nihal, dear Muhammad, Rashid, write your name. And this letter is for you. And you can burn it at the end when you're done, or you can throw it away, or you can tear it into pieces. I prefer burning the letter. Again, based on research. And so, dear self, it's time to say goodbye to whatever experience you went through. Name that person who broke your heart, for example. Name that career or that job that you lost. Name something. It's time to say goodbye to fill in the blank. I am saying goodbye because fill in the blank. Either you want to say, I need to move on, I need to honor myself, I need to respect myself, I need to gain back my power, I need to gain back my worthiness, but it's time to say goodbye because ... fill in the blank. As I say goodbye, I feel many feelings, including name your feelings. What do you feel as you are saying goodbye, as you are writing down that letter? What do you feel? Do you feel sad? Do you feel broken? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel angry? What do you feel exactly? I want you to name those emotions. I can't help but remember ... So here you can state whatever scenario or incident that keeps popping in your head. So I can't help but remember ... It is so hard to let go of fill in the blank. State whatever you think is hard to let go of. You taught me fill in the blank. And so I want you to remember, everyone who's watching me today, if you want to take something away from this lecture, it would be that everyone teaches us lessons. Even your painful emotions, even your painful experiences, the experiences that broke you, they are lessons. in disguise. And until you learn that lesson, you will keep suffering. The same experience will repeat itself next year or after 2 months with a different person, but it's the same pattern because you did not learn that lesson. So take this weekend to reflect and try to go over your negative experience or whatever you are facing or whatever happened to you in the past, and try to write down the lessons that you learned from that experience, from that, broken experience. What did you learn? What did you learn from that person? What did you learn about yourself? Learn that lesson. State that lesson in words. When you learn that lesson, this is when you'll stop suffering because you learned it. And most likely it will not repeat again because you're aware now. You learned that lesson. It was because of this, and this was the root cause. This was the root problem, and this was the cause of it. Okay, so I took responsibility. I had part in that. This happened because of this. Okay, khalas, I learned that lesson. Now I can move on. But if you keep asking yourself, why every year I get heartbroken? Why every year I meet the same people every time? Or I meet the same kind of behavior in the meeting rooms? Or every time I go in and work in any career, I have the same situation going? Or why every time in every month I get sick, for example? I get the flu in August. Why is this happening to me? This is because you did not learn that lesson yet. So when you learn that lesson, this is when you will, inshallah, stop suffering. And so at the end of that goodbye letter, you can write, I forgive you. Even if that is hard, but forgive that person, forgive yourself, I forgive you, ... I forgive myself, love, state your name. And so at the end, thank you so much everyone for listening to me. And I'm really honored to share that story with you. It was very difficult for me to speak about it. I mean, I can actually speak about it right now. If you noticed, I had it written because it's very hard for me to actually speak freely about that experience. That's how hard it was. I mean, these are only bits and pieces of what happened because when you are immersed in that situation, it wasn't easy. But I am working on myself. I am a work in progress, and working through those 6 points that I mentioned really healed me. And alhamdulillah, I noticed a shift in myself, in my physical aspect, in my health. I noticed a shift in my relationships with the people who actually wronged me. And somehow they became their own change agents, and we just have this harmony right now. I made peace with my past, and for whoever wronged me. I have great clients that I work with in my coaching programs. And it's beautiful, and you can see the shift if you do the right work. And so remember everyone, at the end, I want to tell you to honor your struggles. Honor your struggles, and remember, as they say, this too shall pass. Inshallah كل هذه الأمور رح تمر. هذه مجرد فترة. والله يوفقكم كلكم، وتشرفت إني تكلمت معاكم. والله يحفظكم إن شاء الله وين ما كنتوا. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I'm so happy to take your questions now. Whatever it is you want to share, whether it was your story, whether it was a feedback, whether you want to talk about these 6 points, or whether you want some more techniques on healing, I'm here to listen. So thank you all. So if you can help me, Nihal, in reading the questions.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Hanan. I really enjoyed listening to your story. Wallah,
thank you, Nihal.
It was really, And you already got a question midway through when you were speaking. A question came up from an anonymous attendee, and they ask, what is the difference between compassion and self-compassion? Can you provide an example?
Yes, so basically, compassion as a word, it is love. It is taking care of something. Whether that compassion, we moved it towards, we moved it towards ourselves or the people around us. So compassion itself is a positive emotion. And that positive emotion is turned into a behavior, which is caring about that person, either by words or actions. So when you say self-compassion, it's turning that energy of love towards ourselves. But when you say compassion to others, it's turning that positive emotion to others. So it is not quite a difference. It is more of, separating it. Compassion is a separate thing, which is love, which is taking care of something. Either it's taking care of others or taking care of myself. So self-compassion is actually putting that love energy to myself, forgiving myself, being gentle to myself, accepting my mistakes, accepting my faults, accepting that I am a work in progress, and just being okay with feeling whatever negative emotions I am encountering. I hope that answers it.
Oh, and then you've got another one from chat, from Niyama. How can we know, how we can know what we are passionate about?
Well, that alone is a separate lecture. I mean, before I used to think, thank you for that question. It's very, very important. I used to think before that passion is actually like a spark, like you get a sense of inspiration and, oh my God, this is what I love to do. Khalas, I'm going to become a writer. Or no, I'm going to become a singer, or I'm going to become an entrepreneur, for example. It does not really work this way, because if it did, then we're going to say that khalas, every time I'm passionate about something and I work towards that something, it's going to last. But that is just a spark, and it does not last this way. You need commitment, you need hard work, you need to figure out how it's done, you need momentum, it's a consistent work. So how do you know what you're passionate about is to actually try different things. Try different things, and whatever resonated with you, whatever you think that, okay, the passion is there. I'm passionate about water, for example. And so I love drinking water. Water is good. I am passionate about water. I'm passionate about making water bottles, for example. But if my passion is gone, if, for example, the factories stop making water bottles, if I don't like drinking water anymore, will I be able to actually find out ways how to bring back water? Will I actually work towards improving that water? So if you're actually passionate about something, just notice the actions after that passion is gone, or after you fail. Do you still work towards it? This is when you'll know that, oh my God, I am passionate about this. Even if I'm broke, even if there's no water, inshallah, I will go to Mars to bring it because I'm passionate about it. I will not take no for an answer. So it's continuing on working towards that passion. This is when you know that you have passion. So try so many things. And for example, if you tried some of those many things and it worked with you and you feel like you love it and you're working on it, then ask yourself, if I fail in it, will I continue? And if you did fail, are you continuing on that thing? That means you're passionate about it.
Yeah, but sometimes, a lot of people get like this blockage, like, like you're passionate about something, and then sometimes you face like a wall,
Yeah, I feel you.
Well, how do you think that we can pass this wall? Like, what's the kind of thing you would do to yourself to make you feel like you can pass this wall?
Okay, that's a very nice question, Nihal. I mean, I have 3 published books. Okay, so the reason I'm saying that is I am passionate about writing ever since I was in school. But even I faced that kind of wall that you asked about, that you mentioned. It is very difficult to get out of that wall because, I need to start writing, I need to start thinking, I need to start creating, and let alone, work on that business and the administrative work. Because I am a creative, I need to work on my content, training, coaching, writing. But I always need to be fresh in my mind and, activated, let's say. Yeah. So I do go through these walls. Those walls, sometimes they mean take a break. Just sleep. Just, notice the simple things. Maybe you need to sleep more. Maybe you need to exercise more. Maybe you need to hang out with positive people. Maybe you need to be compassionate with yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just take a break from that thing. When you take a break, when you rest well, this is when you'll actually start having ideas again. This can be it. The other thing can be is that you don't know something about that thing. Maybe you're missing a skill. Maybe you're missing a technique. Maybe you're missing something important. You're missing a piece of that puzzle. That's why you feel like, khalas, I don't know. I don't want that anymore. Because you don't know how to do that. So find out what you need to know. Find out what is the missing puzzle. Because sometimes feeling stuck and feeling that wall is because it's another sign for saying you need to learn more about that thing.
Yeah.
So you either start with the basics and see if you need a rest, and then start with the missing puzzle. Okay, so what is that thing that I need to learn in order to continue my work?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So you've got one more question, and it's from Noor. And she asks, can you please repeat the 6 points again? And another question, how to not give advice even if you feel compelled to do and be the light?
I love that question. Thank you so much. I mean, I think part of our society, you know, إحنا Arab, we love giving advice because it comes from a place of love, yes. And that we don't like to see the people, you know, who we love suffer. That's why we want to advise them. And sometimes we advise in a very harsh way because we're thinking that if we don't, then we will be responsible for their misbehavior or their loss, for example. So we want to advise them. Drink water, drink water. Wallah, you drink water. Fine, you don't drink water, I'm going to emotionally abuse you and not speak to you until you drink water. This is how we advise, basically. And so it can be, yes, very compelling. I like that word, that it's very compelling to actually give advice. But at the same time, whatever advice you want to give that person, ask yourself, are you actually doing it on yourself? This is when you will pause. Oh, no. So I'm telling my sister to drink water 8 times a day. Am I drinking 8 times a day? No. So check in with yourself. When you drink 8 times a day, I'm not saying that this will automatically inspire her to do it. But if you do it every single day without advising it, you just have the water bottles in front of you, 8 water bottles, for example, or for example, I don't know, depends on the, you know, ml that you have it, because you need to drink 3 liters a day. And then your face changes, for example, your skin becomes better. You are more calm. So this is when that person, you will actually trigger the curiosity in that person. And they will come and ask, wow, I love your skin. So what are you doing? Well, I'm drinking water. صراحة, water is helping me. Okay, حلو. Well, this is how you help someone change, by inspiring them and becoming an influence. But advising them, I'm not saying that this advice might not work, but it's a very weak technique. It's a very weak technique because, yes, okay, I advise her, please, Jinan, drink water. Okay, خلاص, I'm going to drink water. But how long is that going to last? Yeah. Maybe she's going to do it because I demanded her to do it. Maybe she doesn't want to upset me. But is it really inside of her? Did I inspire her to see how important water is? So I say check in with ourselves first. Make that, let's take responsibility for our lives and become an influence. And at the end, let's remember that this is my journey and this is her journey. So when you advise someone, it's like you're taking their journey away from them somehow. You know, sometimes they need to suffer. It's not like saying, please suffer علشان, you know, you did not listen to my advice. It's not that way. But sometimes some things need to happen in their lives for them to grow. So let's not take that away from them. This is when it comes to advice. When it comes to the 6 points, I'm so happy to repeat them. So the first point is make an intention to heal. So my intention is to heal for myself, not because I want someone, not because I want to get that thing, not because, so let's not put any negative emotions and intentions with it. Let's make the intention clear. My intention is to heal. I want to become better. I want to become nicer. I want to become happier. I want to become more fulfilled for me. So make an intention to heal. The second point is go inwards to your anger. Go inwards to your anger and ask yourself, if there was no anger, what other feelings would there be? So sometimes it's very easy. It's easier for us to be angry at someone and not admit that we're sad or depressed. So we use anger as a block. You know, I'm angry at you and I'm so angry and I'm so angry. Yes, you deserve this. I want you, you know, out of my life. But this anger, ask yourself, what is underlying that anger? Usually it's sadness. Usually it's shame. It's betrayal. It's frustration. So go inwards to your anger. The third point is stay with the painful feelings. Yani if you're feeling sad and you want to cry, cry. Don't wipe away your tears and, you know, get up and wash your face. No. If you feel like crying, you cry because that's a way for you to release that energy. If you don't cry, it's going to hurt your heart. And this is when you will develop physical ailments or diseases. If you don't cry now, if someone told me, or someone told you, for example, ugh, I hate your dress, you're going to cry. And then they're going to be surprised and go like, whoa, I was just kidding. I just don't like your dress. But you feel like crying because you did not cry when you felt like crying. That's why whatever, silly situation or something that is, just adi, you cry. People feel like, why is she overreacting? You're not overreacting. You just have so much emotions built up. So release that emotion. Number 4, sit with your sadness. How does it feel in your body? So always notice what is happening in your body. Is it your eyes? Do you have headache? Is it your stomach? Are you vibrating? Are you shaking? What is it? Notice it and name that feeling. You can name even funny names. For example, I want to name my depression Monster. It's okay. Oh, hello, Monster. Observe it when it comes. Observe your negative emotions. For example, if an emotion came, there's this girl that every time you see her at work, you feel jealous. Something triggers you about that girl. So instead of fighting that negative emotion and feeling jealous and worked up, just observe that emotion. Uh-oh, here it is. I feel jealous. Hello, jealous. Okay, so why am I jealous? Something about her that I would like to have for myself. So what is it? Why do I need to have it? Why do I need to have that kind of bag? Is it something that I need to work on? Do I need to work on my happiness? Do I believe that this bag will actually make me happy? Then why? So sit with your feelings. Sit with your sadness and observe it in your body. Number 5, show compassion to yourself. Forgive yourself. You make mistakes. And it's okay. Raise your hand, whoever is watching us today, who doesn't make mistakes here? We all make mistakes. So show compassion to yourself. Number 6 is take responsibility for whatever happened. So whatever happened in that situation, take responsibility. It was my fault. I did not heal myself enough. That's why I attracted someone who emotionally abused me. It was my fault. But don't feel bad for it, but just take that responsibility. Okay, it's my fault. I did not satisfy my unmet needs. So what can I do now? Heal my inner child. Give myself love. The love that I did not get, for example, when I was as a child. So these are the 6 points. I hope you got them all.
Great. So now you have another question from Fatima. And she says, you mentioned that wanting to change is the key. What if the person have no interest in changing?
Is that our responsibility? If they don't have interest in changing, what do we have? The only thing we can do is continue to change ourselves, not because we want them to change. Notice that even this is not a clear intention. فخلاص, I'm gonna start changing and being nice so my mom can be nice to me. That's not even a good intention. But if I think to myself that I want to change because I just need to feel relaxed, I just want peace, I just want happiness, I just want growth. If she was influenced, mashallah, that's amazing. And if she wasn't, and if she did not change, all I have to do is send her love and pray for her. That's all. Not force, because you can never force anyone. في آية بالقرآن إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. حتى يغير ما بأنفسهم. لما الإنسان ينوي التغيير, when someone wants to change, they will change. But no matter how much you tell them, please change, 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 inshallah you tell them for 30 years, they will not change unless they decide to change. I know it's sad and I know it's frustrating, but it is, what it is. Let's always focus on ourselves.
True. So another question from Niyama comes again. She says, did you ever know that you will reach the place that you are in, or did you plan for it? Does planning help you?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that question. Okay, so in the beginning, I did not expect that any of this would happen. I knew I loved writing. But when I was in AUD, I graduated from marketing and I wanted to get a job. I did not get a job for 2 years. I was unemployed and I was shocked. I used to go to interviews and I get rejection letters. So what is wrong with me? I said, why all my friends are getting a job and why not me? I want a job. I'm active. So this is the time when I started volunteering. After 1 year of, blaming and I'm so sad I don't have a job. The second year, I was just tired of myself. Let me do something. خلاص, if the job came, حلو. But if it didn't, I want to do something with my time. And so I started volunteering in hospitals and disabled centers. And what happened was that I was inspired, especially that when I worked with the elderly. There was this man who was very old, محمد. كنت أقول له عمي محمد يعني. فأقول له إيش حالك اليوم? How are you doing? He says, oh, الحمد لله بنتي حنان, I'm fine. At least I can pray. And he can't move, huh? No legs, nothing. He can't move. He's disabled on bed, on the hospital bed. But he was happy that he can pray with his hands. So when I saw Ammi Muhammad like this, he's over 80 years old, and I'm complaining about not getting a job. I'm like, oh my God. And he loves life, and he loves his other, colleagues in the hospital beds next to each other. And this is the time when I used to go back home and feel inspired. So I used to write about Ammi Muhammad. I used to write about these situations, and I posted them on my blog. And then I'm like, let me do videos and read those blogs. So I bought this laptop. Imagine, like, from all these years. And this laptop has a webcam, as you can see. And so I started speaking through the webcam in my room about these blogs, and I posted them on YouTube. And that's it. People started watching me. People started commenting. I got views, and I did not even expect it. I did not feel sad when I got 3 views in 1 week, because I wanted just to spread my message of love and positivity and hope. بعدين, after 1 year of YouTube channel, then I got a job. I'm like, wow. See, when you shift your energy to something else, more productive and positive, this is when you get a job. بعدين I did both, my job and the YouTube channel. شوي TV started calling me to speak about this channel. This is the time when I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? This is when I started actually planning. This is when I planned. I want to write a book. And I started writing a book. In my meeting rooms, in the meeting room, I used to get ideas about that book. I used to write it down, go back home, finish it. And then after that book, I wanted to help people, coach them. So I wanted to become a trainer. So I took certifications in training. So this is when I started planning. But in the beginning, no. But planning helped me, be consistent with that journey. That after 1 book, there came another book and a 3rd book. And after that planning, I'm like, I don't belong in corporate world. I belong in the creative world. This is when I quit my job after 2 years only. And people thought I'm crazy. How can you quit your job? No salary, no insurance. You're still a kid. You're 24. You don't know what business is. I'm like, this is what I want to do. And so I planned, how can I start a business? How can I do, training and consultancy company? And yes, planning is very important. But in the beginning, I did not expect it. I just went with the flow, went with my heart and what it told me to do. Yeah.
I like that. I like when people say they went with their hearts, because it always gets them to, what they actually want in life. So the next question, it's also from Noor. And she asked, you mentioned before about the positive psychology course that you took. Can you recommend courses in that subject?
Yes, and so positive psychology, I took a diploma and I traveled to Australia, lived there for a while, just to understand what positive psychology is. And it's a science that actually focuses on the positive. It focuses on the positive attributes of what helps people flourish, what helps us grow, instead of focusing on, the diseases and what I have missing in my life. So basically, positive psychology moves people from, let's say you have a scale here, -5, 0, +5. It's a scale. So the normal psychology, it moves people from -5 to 0. So -5 is depression, 0 having no depression. But having no depression doesn't mean you're happy. It means you have no depression. Are you happy? Are you flourishing? Are you productive? Are you contributing to your society? No, not necessarily. So positive psychology moves you from 0 to +5. So from 0 to +5, how can I flourish? How can I become happier? How can I have better relationships with myself and others? And so I do recommend, of course, the father of positive psychology is Martin Seligman. He actually came up with that science in 1998 when he took part in the American Psychological Association. So go in the university that he created, which is the Pennsylvania University, and you will find courses online about positive psychology. Also, Coursera.org offers a lot of positive psychology programs. It's very important for you to understand the emotions and the modalities and the techniques behind the science, because it will help you a lot. It speaks a lot about gratitude. It speaks a lot about mindfulness, being in the moment, and it will really inspire you to change.
All right. And you have, I think maybe this may be the last question from Niyama again. And she asks, how we can be productive in whatever we do in life?
That's beautiful. And I'm going to make it so easier. I want to show you something. Okay. 1 second. You see that? For the lovely lady who asked the question, this is a calendar. I swear, I can be so philosophical about this, but having a calendar and writing down whatever you want on the sticky notes and committing to it week by week will help you build momentum, will help you become productive. When you see there's actual results from your work, but when you have things shattered around you, when you're not clear about your vision, what you want in life, when you don't have goals set, of course I'm going to feel like, well, what am I doing? I'm going to feel demotivated. But when I want to increase my productivity, it's very important that I set my goals, commit to them week by week, and then reward myself. When I commit, reward myself. Because when you reward yourself, and when you do that, when you tick your goal that you actually accomplished it, what happens in your brain is that you actually release a hormone called dopamine. So dopamine is a happy hormone, and that hormone is the reward hormone. It helps you it gives you a sign that, yes, you're doing it, continue. So it actually motivates you. And so you want these kind of hormones in your body when you're working and when you want to increase your productivity. So reward yourself after accomplishing anything, even if it's small, even if you are the person who did not drink water. I don't know why I'm giving examples about water all the time, but I love water. And so even if you drink 8 cups a day and you're so proud of yourself, tick that this is actually an accomplishment. Never let anything go. You don't have to create something huge, for your country, عشان you feel you're accomplished. Even if you are the kind of person who reacts to your anger and who shouts, but this time you did not shout, you swallowed your anger, this is an accomplishment, and be proud of that. So set your goals, reward yourself, and try to create a positive environment as much as you can. This will help you also improve your productivity.
All right. And the last, again, from Niyama, what is the difference between real and fake inspiration? Last one.
Beautiful. I don't think there is something called fake inspiration, because inspiration itself is a positive emotion based on a scientist. Her name is Barbara Fredrickson. She has a book called Positivity. And so in that book, she spent 18 years in North Carolina University just to study what positive emotions does to your body, to your brain, to your physical aspects, to how you perform in life. And one of those 10 positive emotions, one of the main 10 positive emotions was inspiration. So inspiration alone is positive. There is no such thing as real or fake. But I think what you're asking and what you want to know is, how can I know this is the right thing to do? صح? If this is what you're asking, it's beautiful. I like it, but it's not real or fake inspiration. If you get inspiration, go ahead. And you will never know if it's the right decision or not unless you actually go with it. So go with it and then assess. Oh my God, no. صراحة, I don't like writing. خلاص, I'm going to stop. بس لأن I wrote before. I wrote and I saw everything. Okay, no, this doesn't fit me. Let me move to something else. بس ما في شيء اسمه fake or real inspiration. Inspiration is a positive emotion. And it's one of the strongest positive emotions, and it works as a motivation, an indirect motivation.
Yeah. Some inspiration is just for the moment. It does not last. Nayam is continuing, responding back to you.
Okay, then this is not inspiration. Then this is feeling good. Feeling like, oh, wow, this is nice. For example, I'm not an athlete. I do exercise and I love dancing, but I'm not an athlete. Let's say that I watched an athlete put videos, and then I feel inspired. I'm gonna make videos. And then I make one video. I feel like I thought this was inspiration. It wasn't. It was like, oh my God, she does great videos. Let me try and make a video. So this is something that I wanted to try because I like that kind of video. But did it last with me? No, it didn't. Because I am not an athlete. This is not my line of work. Doesn't mean I can't become one. But if I become one, I'm not going to post it on social media because I am a life coach. I like self-development, you know? So yes, some inspiration does not last because it's not real inspiration. Not that to say that there's fake inspiration, but it was just something that you liked. If I not call it inspiration, something that I liked.
Definitely. So that's all the time we have for now. I see a lot of people in the chat box commenting on your session. A lot of people are actually praising you. Excellent, Hanan from Muna Kazim. She says, well done. I loved your session. And there were many others as well that commented. Amazing.
Thank you, guys.
And I'd like to thank you again for coming in and sharing with us your story and coming in and helping us learn and answering our questions. And also I'd like to thank the attendees. Yeah, even Dr. Abir, she's saying this is such an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hanan.
Thank you guys so much. Wallah. Thank you. I'm honored to be with you today. شكرا على كل الكلام. Oh, I hope I can see you guys again in the future. And if you have any more questions, I always post articles on my Instagram account, Hanan_Al Sammak. You can always follow me there. And I'm so happy to be with you today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nihal, for being here.
Thank you. And I'd like to say, if you loved Hanan, then you can always book her through info@mina-speakers.com, or you can always go and check out her Instagram. She just said it just now. And I hope you all have a lovely day. I'll see you all soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.